I'm back in my truck. And the reason I'm saying I'm back in my truck is because on Monday, when I went to drop off the load at Costco, no, this started Sunday night. On Sunday night, I discovered that my cab lights, the interior cab lights, so the sleeper and the dome and the footwell, had come on. I don't know why. And they wouldn't shut off. They were just stuck on. So I looked it up online and I tried all these ways to fix it, and there was no fixing it. So I had to report that as another problem that needed to be fixed on the truck. Because you can't drive in the dark with your lights on inside. If you have a license, you know you can't do that. It distracts you and it distracts other people. So after I unloaded at Costco, and that took several hours, I went ahead and put in a request to have the truck fixed, and then they told me to take it to a dealership. So I took it to a dealership about an hour away, and they told me at the dealership that they would estimate the fix would take 3 to 4 days. While I was trying to get my trailer unhooked, I discovered that the button for that wasn't working either, and hazards hadn't been coming on that morning. So all of those things needed to be looked at, and so they ended up putting me in a hotel again. Luckily, it only took 2 nights instead of 3 or 4 or more like I had anticipated, because typically getting electrical work done on a vehicle can take who knows how long. It just depends on how tricky the situation is. It's really varied. Well, that's all done, but I had to pay another pet fee to have my dog there, and it was not in a good area of town, but luckily this one was enclosed in a locked gate system, which was good. It's just that the building itself had like very little grass at all for me to take him out, and so we didn't get to spend much time outside. There was no safe place to really take him for a long walk, and it's just more time just laying around with the TV on, basically, instead of making money, spending money on DoorDash food and trying to make 2 meals out of one at breakfast again. And so now I've got the truck back, but I'm sitting in their parking lot waiting for the assignment that I'm supposed to get. I have no idea if I'm going to be able to get back into town for that appointment that was supposed to take place yesterday. They did send someone to me at the hotel to sign a paper, so they got their part done, but technically I did have the approval for that time off, and now I've spent 2 rounds of what constitutes like a 34-hour reset out of town, which I initially had gotten approval to have. So I don't know if they're trying to set me up still with a return trip to my home city, or if they're just gonna count this as the breaks, and I don't know. I'm just feeling pretty disappointed still about the way that the company has handled things and how often I'm ending up in a breakdown. My trainer that I initially got with, he told me a story when he first got hired. He said, well, when I got with this company, they tried to put me in an international truck, and that international truck was broken down so much that I wasn't making any money. And when I was thinking it through, not knowing how it goes, I thought, oh, I get it. He's having to wait for the truck to be in the shop so he can't get the miles. But there was probably more to it, just like I've gone through. There was probably him having to sit in hotels and spend money. So as soon as he figured out that this company wanted to get him in an international, and he associated breakdowns with this international type of truck, he said no, he didn't want to do that, and then he went and got hired on with that company he's at now. But what I'm finding out from my experience so far is that even if you don't have an international, the same thing can happen. Even if you have a newer truck, which I guess a 2023, which is what I have, isn't a 2-year-old truck. It's a 3-year-old truck. It had 350,000 miles on it when I signed up for it. And it's happening to this one. And I really, really hope that this is the last of an unfortunate long run of a lot of stopping for repairs. I really hope that this, this last couple of days is going to be it for a long while. But I have no way to really know that. It's not even an international, it's a Freightliner. So I guess we'll just see. I'm a little hesitant to try to keep trying to look for another place to go, because I'm concerned that I'm just gonna find the same thing. And I've been hearing for a while now that even in the personal vehicle area of truck or vehicle manufacturing, that the newer vehicles are not made very well. And that might be just what's going on, is anything above a certain year is kind of crap. It's like too complicated, and they're using cheap parts, and it goes to shit too quickly. I don't know if that's what's happening or what. So, but I'm still I still wish that they would have sent or had a program set up to where they just sent you a vehicle to swap into when you had to have a repair that would last more than like a half a day, something like that. I've heard that companies that pay you hourly to drive will do that because they have to pay you for the time that you're waiting. And maybe that's why this one isn't, because this one's per mile. But yeah, it's going to be really hard for me to tell what I could expect an average income for me would be without all these fixes happening every month. Because this whole month, well, let's see, I haven't quite been with them a month now as a solo driver. It's been like 3-4 weeks in. It's not quite a full 30 days yet. But you get what I'm saying. I don't know yet how to properly budget, because I don't know how often to expect that this is going to be going on. So I kind of have to decide, do I take a chance and keep applying to other places? Which I really don't want to do that either, because in my situation, I'd have to come up with savings just for that alone. Because I've looked at my area and there aren't that many available outfits with over-the-road driving that I would qualify for and want to do. Like, there's a flatbed company. I would not drive flatbed. That requires a lot of straps and chains and heavy lifting tarps and stuff. I'm not up for that. I'm probably not physically capable of that right now, and I don't expect to be in the future. Things like that, there's just this. I went with the biggest one in my area, so I knew I'd be able to stay at home when they had the initial training. And then, so then if I apply to a place that's somewhere else in the country, well, getting hired is one thing, but then I'd have to make sure that I had a place to stay where my dog could stay, because I don't have anyone to keep him with, and I can't afford to put him in a kennel for who knows how long while they had me go through their training. And, I don't want him to feel abandoned either, so that'd be a very expensive and painful process for me to keep my dog somewhere while I finished that company's training period. And then what would really suck is to do all that only to find out that the same thing was just going to happen anyway. So I feel really stuck, but that's not a new sensation for me at certain jobs, I have to say. There's a lot of jobs out there, and I'm sure that a lot of you know that today's job market arena is just kind of ghastly. There's so many jobs that people dislike and can't get anything better, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not trying to come across as a victim. I'm just saying, hey, there's a lot of stuff happening, unfortunately, very rapidly for me as a new driver, and maybe it's just bad luck. Maybe this is the standard and they're just not talking about it because then they wouldn't have anybody to do the job. But here's the thing that I realized the other day when I was talking to my sister. I said something like, it really floors me how much suffering has gone into and goes into maintaining this modern life. All of the things that we receive, all of the physical goods and the food that we receive on trucks, how much suffering. And I'm not talking about my personal suffering so much, because I've barely been in this like a few weeks, and it's been like a lot of hassles for me, and it's hurting my pay. So there's a little suffering for me, right? It's hurting my paycheck, my income. It's messing up the time that I had figured toward my goals. But just if you put it all together with a lot of people out there that are literally enslaved by, they get tricked into thinking that if they become an owner operator and they sign for this lease, that they're going to make this big money. And they did a documentary on it. I've seen some of it. That what happens is they run into a bunch of problems. They either mess up somewhere and get fines and tickets and things, or they run into a bunch of truck fixes that they need to take care of, which means not only paying for those, but also having to stay somewhere and then not earning anything. And then they're so far deeply in debt toward this company that they're trying to buy the truck from that they literally have nothing left. So think about that when I say suffering. Like, that's an example. Not to mention just the basic lifestyle of having to be away from friends and family for a very long period of time, working almost every day of the week, the danger involved, and just a lot of uncomfortability. There's certainly a level of physical sacrifice for your health, because it's pretty difficult to be healthy as a truck driver. There are people that do it, have figured out how to do it, and I would like to work toward that. But everything has, like certain ducks in a row. I've still got to buy a way to cook my food in here, because the outlets, I didn't realize this, the outlet that I have for a basic plug-in does not work. Although, if they worked on the electrical, I should try it again and see. So maybe I won't have to purchase, because I brought an electric skillet with me. So maybe I won't have to purchase the kind that plugs into the adapter, but I'll check that out. But it didn't have a microwave in it, and I was lucky to get a refrigerator. I mean, just think about that, like you get into a vehicle that you're going to be in for weeks or months at a time, and then they're not even giving you a way, there's no guarantee that you'll get a way to cook or refrigerate your own food. I mean, to me, that's really inconsiderate of the human being that has needs that you're putting out to work that much. You're asking a whole lot from them to tell them, well, now you've got to fund your own way to heat or cool your food, or you've got to spend all your money on like canned food and truck stop food, which is unhealthy and expensive. I know that before COVID there was kind of a heyday in truck driving. I've been told that a lot of people made several dollars per mile instead of cents per mile. It's just hard to imagine it now. I mean, I know that it happened, but wow. Yeah, those were the glory days, I suppose. And it's not really a glorious job. It's a humbling experience, actually. Yeah, so I don't know. That's just my update, I guess. Hopefully short enough